This video is going to be a deep inquiry within the history of Ava Kris Tyson. Now, as you could have probably suspected by the title, certain parts of this history are unsavory. This video will include topics which may not be suitable for all ages. As such, there is a trigger warning for topics related to NSFW artwork, disturbing messages, disturbing images, and anything related to that matter. Lastly, to be clear, I am not transphobic and this video will have nothing to do regarding Ava Kris Tyson's transformation or anything with them being trans. Even though the title does include the term degenerate, I will not be discussing topics such as racism, Islamophobia, or transphobia, as it's simply unfair for me to make that comparison with the dynamics of culture changing significantly over time. I do not condone any harassment, bullying, accusing, or threatening of any individual presented with the video. I am not accusing any individual of being guilty of anything. This video is strictly meant for educational purposes as well as investigative journalism. We want to focus on the history of their degeneracy, and for that we have to go 1 year back to 2017, when MrBeast would mainly be known for his extremely long videos, in which he would perform his tiresome challenges, like counting to 100,000, watching It's Everyday Bro for 10 hours, and saying Logan Paul 100,000 times. Within this time, however, Ava Kris Tyson would be posting some other type of content which would be posted on Twitter and not YouTube. Now, before I start reading out any tweets, reposts, or likes in relation to Ava Kris Tyson, I want everybody to keep in mind that certain tweets from this time period are extremely old and aren't archived very well, with them either being deleted or taken down. Ultimately, it is hard to have an exact, concise timeline. Anyhow, the first signs of trouble would appear on April 16, 2017, when Anomaly, a CSGO channel, would post this tweet, which would read, "My dick is like an amusement park, kids get to ride for free." As seen above, Ava Kris Tyson would repost this tweet. Now this repost of an old tweet doesn't really say anything, as it was a simple repost, and I believe this post was meant more of as a joke rather than having any serious implications behind it. However, it was a sort of foreshadowing around what was to come. On May 8, 2017, only a month after Ava Kris Tyson would repost that tweet, there would be another instance in which Keemstar would tweet out this post, setting up an interview with Danielle Bergoli for #Drama. Danielle Bergoli was born on March 26, 2003, meaning that at the time of making this post, she would have been 14 years old. Underneath that Twitter post, there would be a comment replying to the post, which would say, "If she's 13, I'm 13, implying that the user would be interested in different activities with Danielle. This comment would have also been liked by Ava, which can be seen below. Nevertheless, these two are just examples of Ava Kris Tyson interacting with certain degenerate tweets, which doesn't necessarily imply anything, however it should be considered considering the further stuff which was to come. Before we dive into the depths of that further stuff, however, we have to first comprehend all of the figures involved within this story, and for that we have to talk about a very controversial figure known as Shadman. For those who are unaware of who Shadman is an hentai artist and former YouTuber. He would start off his career by attending an art university in Switzerland with the intention of pursuing a career in game design. He would however be expelled out of this university as some of the artwork in his portfolio was discovered and was considered highly illegal, being called a menace to society, with him later clarifying the statement of him being expelled by stating that Switzerland has some law against underage persons involved in sexual activity in art. More of this information can be found on episode 27 of the Sleepy Cast podcast, which featured Shadman. Shadman would still however want to pursue his dreams and as such would start doing freelancing work, before finally making his break on Newgrounds in 2009. Newgrounds is mainly a platform meant to share creative content, which includes works from musicians, voice actors, writers, game developers, and even artists. Around this time period, Shadman would also launch his website. But this would also be a turning point for Shadman, at which he would truly begin to not give a as in 2011 he would draw pornographic art of his own mother. And soon after, in 2012, Ed Gould, a popular comic artist, would pass away due to cancer. Shadman would notice the situation, and rather than providing support, he would draw a drawing of Ed being fucked by the Grim Reaper. However, this would only be the beginning of Shadman, as during the next stages of Shadman's career, he would start focusing on drawing lolly artwork. For those who are unaware of what lolly drawings are, they're an anime-themed art which involves underage cartoon characters depicted in a sexual manner. With the 2016 presidential elections around the corner, an individual individual on Tumblr would make a post on November 8th asking Shadman to draw Keemstar's daughter giving head to Donald Trump. Shadman would take a screenshot of this post and state that he would do it if Donald Trump won the elections. With Donald Trump later winning the elections, Shadman would deliver on his promise. He would deliver on a comic which depicted Keemstar's daughter in a highly sexual manner. Though with the first comic simply referring to sexual mannerisms, Shadman would take it up a notch, and would later start drawing concept art of Keemstar's daughter giving head to Donald Trump. The drawing is missing color, with Shadman not fully finishing it. For context, I want you guys to understand that Keemstar's daughter was 7 years old at the time, and she looked like this. This wouldn't have been the end of the puke-inducing stuff Shadman would make, as in November 18th, 2016, Shadman would draw a drawing of LT Corbus posing sexually with a microphone in a comic theme style. I won't show the entire drawing, however the implications of the microphone being genitalia is more than blatant. To put you guys into perspective, this girl was 11 years old. With LT Corbus having her own YouTube channel, Shadman would also link LT Corbus's YouTube link at the bottom of the artwork, to ensure that the implication of the artwork being about her is ensured. Shadman wouldn't stop there, however, as on January 24th, 2017, Shadman would start posting messages of Daphne Keene, titling the post as her being molested and calling her a real-life lolly. A couple days later, after these messages, Shadman would start posting images of Daphne Keene being brutally molested. In the images, she is shown to be scarred, beaten, and pissed on. Now obviously I can't show any of these images as they're extremely explicit. However, for your guys' understanding, Daphne Keene was only 12 years old. Jesus Christ, man. He would also sexualize Liev Schreiber's son, when his son would cosplay as Harley Quinn, being only 9 years of age. In a leaked Discord message, Shadman would point out that there's a bulge. On Shadman's website, you can see multiple depictions of kids from animated films being shown in a sexual manner. Drawings such as Riley from Inside Out, Violet Park from The Incredibles, and the We Are Number One Girl are only a small bunch of the many drawings shown. And it's not like these drawings are taken down. They are still on Shadman's website on Shadbase, depicting real-life children in a sexual way to this present day. If you would like a more detailed video on Shadman, I would recommend Turkey Tom's video, as he provides a lot more information regarding Shadman. Regardless, Shadman would keep drawing more depictions of lollies being shown in a sexual manner, and he wasn't scared of hiding it either. He uploaded a YouTube video on August 19, 2016 called I Like to Draw Lollies. It's pretty obvious how Shadman is an individual who a person does not want to involve themselves with, and a person who thankfully doesn't reside on the internet anymore, having the forever stained reputation of a pedophilic, disgusting artist who would base his drawings on real-life children. However, during the time of Shadman, there was one specific artwork which caught the attention of someone we know. The artwork in question had a girl with implications that were suggestive of her being young. The girl in the picture would be pointing a gun in her mouth, with her having blonde hair and a "please be patient, I have autism" cap. The drawing itself would also be tagged as a lolly drawing. However, Shadman would later have to change the title of all of his drawings to Smolly, including this piece. This is because when he had drawn lolly artwork of Daphne Keene, he had to change the tags below his artworks. This was due to the legal consequences of drawing Daphne Keene when she was 12, having law enforcement and her lawyers be involved. Nevertheless, the artwork would be uploaded on Shadman's website, Shadbase, on June 19, 2017. On November 18, 2017, Ava Kris Tyson would reply to a tweet to MrBeast and Grande1899. And although I can't find to what exactly they were replying to, the reply read, "This is coming from the guy who owns a Shadbase drawing and has it as a centerpiece in his living room." Now keep in mind, by the time of November 18, 2017, Shadman would have already drawn all the disgusting artworks we talked about. This meant that by the time Ava Kris Tyson would have made this post, Shadman would have already drawn Keemstar's daughter, the YouTuber LT Corbus, and Daphne Keene, as well as a massive range of different child characters being depicted in a sexual manner. At some point or another, Ava Kris Tyson would also tweet out a tweet in which the previously mentioned Shadman drawing would be laid on the ground, above which they would caption, "Bonus fidget spinners to really throw in some extra autism," referring to the hat of the character in the drawing, which says "Please be patient, I have autism." With the character having a fidget spinner earring, the reference was towards the layout fidget spinners around the poster itself. Now I understand times were different in regards to the hat, and most likely Ava meant the caption as a joke rather than trying to portray something insensitive to a group of people. However, what doesn't stand as a joke in my eyes is owning a known pedophile artist's artwork as a centerpiece of one's living room, especially one that was tagged as a lolly drawing. To further add fuel to the fire, the drawing includes a tattoo of the spade symbol on the girl's thigh, which says BBC, referring to the acronym of a big black. In addition to the examined acronym, the character's hands can be seen to have multiple wristbands. One of them, specifically on her right hand, includes the text Keemstar. Wristband, in this situation, is implying that the Keemstar circumstance, which included Mia Keem being depicted in a sexual way, is a joke rather than something to be taken seriously. Now, what was interesting about this specific poster to me was that I believe that Ava Kris Tyson was joking when referring to it being the centerpiece of their living room, or for that matter, them having any Shadman poster at all. However, I quickly learned that I shouldn't dismiss the remarks of certain individuals, as in a very old MrBeast video called Tipping Pizza Delivery Drivers $10,000 and the timestamp of 9 minutes and 30 seconds, you could actually see the poster, with Ava and Jimmy being in the same room. Jimmy and Ava, around the time period of 2017, would also be roommates, which would be confirmed by Ava in multiple interviews.
I told Jimmy like 7 years ago, hey, I walked out of my bedroom, it was late, I walked out and it was kind of one of those, oop. And then he was like, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to talk about it.
Wait, what was it that gave it away?
Fully dressed up.
Oh, so you were dressing up as a woman long before.
I've been dressing up as a woman since I was like 6 years old.
Oh.
Which means that at some point, Jimmy had to at least acknowledge that the poster was in their living room. Now, personally, I am tolerant of many things. However, to own a known predator's art in your home and then blasting about it on Twitter is more than strange to me. Especially after the fact that this individual was already exposed for the heinous crimes he did, with literally one of the crimes being marked on the poster itself. Nevertheless, this wouldn't mark the end of Ava Kris Tyson's commentary on bizarre posts, as about a month prior to the post appearing in a MrBeast video, on July 14th, 2017, an account known as Garbatos would post a comic which depicted two characters from a show called Gravity Falls kissing, one being called Dipper while the other one being called Mabel. Both characters in the show are within the ages of 12 to 13, with both being depicted as children. In the show, these characters are categorized as a brother and a sister. The user, which posted the comic, depicted these characters in a more inappropriate manner. Though, the comic is obviously quite disturbing, with it portraying incest between two child characters. Even so, what's evenly more disturbing is Ava Kris Tyson's comment under the post, which reads, "They're twins, so at that point it's just masturbation, right?" Ava Kris Tyson would later delete this comment, however the remarks made in it are pretty clear. Once again, please keep in mind that these are literal 12-year-old children within this post. And that's not even me saying it, that's the show itself. From Ava's side, it would be a post which would definitely be strange to say the least. Though, unfortunately, this once again wouldn't be the end of it, as on January 7th, 2018, Ava Kris Tyson would reply on yet another Shadman comic, with the caption of the tweet being, "Peep, my favorite snack in the spaghetti." This tweet, although by itself may seem irrelevant, it's the context behind it which makes it much more revolting. In the post itself, we can see an image of a Tide Pod, while in the caption, we can see the sentence, "Peep, my favorite snack in the spaghetti." And under the replies, we can see Ava Kris Tyson is replying to Shadman. Now, when searching through Shadman archives, there are a few comics which refer to Tide Pods. However, I couldn't find a specific comic which was referring to both spaghetti and Tide Pods made by Shadman. That would be until I would spot a collection of different porn-themed humor comics in the Shadman archives, all being extremely offensive. Fittingly, the name for the category of these porn comics, which they would be grouped under, would be one-shot comics for edgelords. Now, when I say that these comics include extremely offensive topics, I really mean it. These comics would include literal depictions of children being animals, humans, and animals being rape, and many more things that you can just imagine would scar a person for a while. In one of the comics, Shadman would poke fun of the tragedy at Columbine High, which is a real-life massacre in which two individuals would shoot up a high school, killing 15 people. In the comic, having their bodily structures very similar to their counterpart ones in real life. So within the search through the entire sector of the one-shot comics for edgelords, there was only one which would refer to Tide Pods and spaghetti made by Shadman. The comic by itself, being called Sunday Dinner, would include a family in which a mother, daughter, and son are eating spaghetti with Tide Pods. The very ending of the comic would have the conclusion of the mother essentially molesting her son. Now, I don't think it takes an expert to depict that the comic is attempting to portray the son and daughter as children. With children being depicted in a sexual manner, it shouldn't be within anyone's reason to say that the comic is anything less of disgusting. So, when Ava Kris Tyson would post a tweet referring to the comic saying "Peep, my favorite snack in the spaghetti," some eyebrows must be raised. This, however, once again, wouldn't be the end of Ava Kris Tyson's commenting on stuff related to Shadman, as the next post, in my opinion, is the most disturbing out of all occurrences previously mentioned. Only 10 days after making the post of the Tide Pods reference to the Shadman comic, on January 17, 2018, a Twitter user called JLullaby would make a post with the caption, "Remember this growing up? Me too. Check it out on shadbase.com/Caillou." Under the caption itself, there would be an image of Caillou with his mother, with the title of the image being "Caillou gets a timeout." Again, I want everyone to understand that Shadbase is a website that Shadman owns. Shadbase is a website where there are posts of porn comics of different cartoon and video game characters, with the implications of Caillou being linked to Shadman mean that there was likely a comic made on Caillou. If anyone didn't know, Caillou is a show made for children, with Caillou himself being 4 years old. The post itself is disgusting, however what is evenly more alarming is for Ava Kris Tyson to reply under the post, saying, "Help, I need an adult." The implications behind their reply to the post are pretty self-explanatory. Ava Kris Tyson would later delete their reply, however there is a captured screen recording which shows the reply before it was deleted. All occurrences of each incident will be linked under this video. Ultimately, I don't think it's needed for me to explain how replying under a post referring to a comic of a mother molesting her 4-year-old son is inherently degenerate and wrong, especially when the reply to the post is making remarks towards the already sexual depictions of the post, rather than shaming it. After this post though, it wouldn't be of anyone's surprise to have learned that there would be another incident in which Ava Kris Tyson would reply under a Shadman post. On April 16, 2018, about 3 months after the reply towards the Caillou post, Ava Kris Tyson would post his reply replying to Shadman. Although the original post was deleted, the reply itself towards the post is pretty self-explanatory. The reply would read, "No Beast Boy trap? Shad, you've changed. Beast Boy is a character in another popular show, Teen Titans." In this case, however, I'm not sure about the age of Beast Boy, as in certain wikis they mention his age to be 23 to 24, however in others they mention him to be 13 to 14. So in the case of this reply, I cannot condemn Ava of anything, however the same cannot be said for the next post. On June 19th, 2018, Shadman would make a post of Violet from The Incredibles in which there was a scene with her having water flow down her nose. The caption above the post would be, "Best scene in the film by the way." Shortly after making this post, Shadman would make a comic related to The Incredibles, calling it The Incestables, which depicted the mother and daughter in The Incredibles having many sexual encounters. And although Ava Kris Tyson wouldn't comment on the Shadman post directly, they would comment on a different post. On June 21st, a Twitter account would make a post showing Violet involved in different scenes within The Incredibles movie, under which Ava Kris Tyson would reply with, "Low-key, she cute." Violet from The Incredibles movie is 14 years old for context, and Ava Kris Tyson would be around 22 years old. Though, in spite of everything under which Ava Kris Tyson would comment and post, I wouldn't have expected for Jimmy from MrBeast to have known about the presence of Shadman. A month later after the Incredibles post, in July 21st, 2018, Shadman would post an image of Hela from Thor Ragnarok. The post itself thankfully doesn't include any child in it, only showing Hela in more suggestive clothing. Under the post, there would be an account called Snipe, which would reply to the post, with an image having Jimmy from MrBeast hold up a sign saying "Need big titty anime girlfriend." The words were obviously edited onto the image, however what wasn't edited is Ava Kris Tyson replying under the post, tagging both Shadman and Snipe, replying with, "Lol, just a random at MrBeast YT meme on Shad, love it." MrBeast would actually respond to the post saying, "This is all we ever wanted, we can quit now." Now again, the post itself doesn't include any children being depicted in a sexual manner, so it doesn't condemn anything degenerate. However, what it does mark is that MrBeast was aware of Shadman's presence. We knew that Ava Kris Tyson was aware of Shadman's presence, with them even following Shadman on Twitter at one point. However, we didn't know that MrBeast was aware of Shadman. Though it is totally possible that MrBeast was only commenting under the Shadman post only because of Ava Kris Tyson. Although that wouldn't explain a user under the MrBeast old Discord server having messages which talked about Shadman and MrBeast. The messages, which were posted by a now deleted user, the general channel of the server would say, "I expected memes, but hentai was a added bonus. I should have expected hentai knowing Beast like Shadman." These messages should be taken with a grain of salt though, as there is no real way to check who posted these messages or the context behind them. Conversely, the situations in which Ava Kris Tyson found themselves to be in the close proximity of Shadman would only begin to strengthen when on April 26, 2019, Ava Kris Tyson would be on a live stream and open Shadman's website Shadbase, making a post on Twitter saying shout out to Shadbase for having safe for work drawings today. Accidentally pulled up his website on stream. As usual, this post would later be deleted, but it was to show the closeness of Ava and Shadman, at this point shouting out his website. It shouldn't go without surprise that once again, Ava Kris Tyson would encounter another degenerate tweet by Shadman on January 25th, 2019, in which Shadman would post a tweet above which he would caption, "What is this and why do people keep sending me this?" Below Shadman's caption would be a post of an image of a character from the anime The Rising of the Shield Hero. The character's name is Raftalia, who would be 17 years old in the show, though during the show as one of the plots, the character would turn into a 10-year-old version of herself. In Shadman's post, Raftalia would be the 10-year-old version of herself. And within the same day of Shadman releasing the post, Ava Kris Tyson would reply underneath the post with "Please Shad, please." With the obvious depictions that Shadman makes porn comics, the comment of "Please Shad, please" could be seen as Ava Kris Tyson asking Shadman to draw drawings of a 10-year-old cartoon character. The reply was so strange and shock-inducing that even individuals under Ava's reply would comment asking MrBeast to check Chris. The very last instance of degenerate and strange behavior from Ava Kris Tyson would be on October 25th, 2020, where a user known as Efer would reply to Ava Kris Tyson, in which he would post an image of a hentai lolly girl. Next to the lolly girl would be an individual with a camera, perhaps trying to portray the joke about being some perv for that specific lolly girl. The disturbing part of the post comes when one considers that the first original post of the lolly girl would be tagged as hentai. The history of the image would date back to it being a wallpaper in which there would be two variants of the post, one version which had the lolly girl clothed and the other version which did not. The post itself would be liked by Ava, and the post could be seen as disturbing to some, all things considered. In the end, many of Ava's tweets can be considered as degenerate, and although there are definitely more tweets that haven't been presented within this video, with many of them being lost into the space of the internet, or with them being simply tweets which were inaccurate tweets which were completely taken out of context and were used against Ava, were shown in many styles. However, the most notable ones included a 2016 tweet in which Ava Kris Tyson would tweet out, "Nothing gets my knob cranking like some lolly." This tweet, although very strange on the surface, would be taken out of context as it was a response to a thread which included another person. The other person in the thread would be mentioning how lolly porn is okay as long as it's animated, to which Ava Kris Tyson would respond in a sarcastic manner to the other individual in the thread, saying that "nothing gets my knob cranking like some lolly." Another example of a tweet taken out of context would be a 2017 post which included Ava Kris Tyson tweeting out, "That bitch look good for a 4-year-old." This tweet would also be taken out of context as it was a lyric from a song known as Dora the Explorer by Pink Guy, Filthy Frank aka Joji. I'm not defending any of the past tweets they made that were mentioned in this video. I just want everyone to understand that some of the past tweets Ava Kris Tyson may have put out can really be misunderstood. All in all, there are a bunch more tweets and threads which were taken out of context. However, there are also tweets which point out blatant racism on Ava Kris Tyson's behalf. Transphobia and even Islamophobia were mentioned likewise. Though, like mentioned at the start of this video, I'm not gonna be covering those aspects of Ava Kris Tyson's history. In a tweet on April 10th, 2021, they would make a public apology addressing all their insensitive tweets regarding these specific remarks. This is something that only the closest people to me know, but I have struggled with my gender since I was 10. I am extremely private about it, but I feel like I needed to come forward. Your feelings are valid and the things I said were not okay, but I want to make it clear I fully support and love the trans community. To all the other communities and minorities that were offended, I am truly sorry for those words. I genuinely am thankful for you guys holding me accountable. Yet, even if we are to overlook tweets which included offensive remarks towards different groups, or other tweets which were simply inaccurate, we would still end up with tweets in which Ava would be endorsing and following a very edgy pedophilic artist, with further interactions showing them having strange comments on numerous comics, some of which even included underage characters, all instances having degenerate remarks to say the least. That leaves us with our final question on why would I cover such a very specific topic at this period of time? As the tweets were made over 6 years ago and nearly all of them being deleted, it really doesn't make sense for someone to be bringing up old issues all that time later. Though the answer as to why I covered this topic, regardless of how old it is, would mainly lie within 2 reasons. The first reason being that I mainly wanted to understand what would really lead a person to tweet such degenerate remarks. One thing, which could have potentially contributed towards this behavior, although quite upsetting on the surface, would be that Ava Kris Tyson would be married during this period of time, in which they were tweeting some of these tweets. With them marrying Katie Tyson around 2018 and later both separating at around 2022, to me, it posed the question of what could have happened within their marriage to coincide with their degenerate behavior within their tweets. Perhaps Ava was unhappy in the marriage, and that led to them finding happiness in other places, even if those other places weren't so savory. Though this answer as to why they behaved the way they did wouldn't really seem correct, as on June 18th, 2020, Ava would have their son Tucker with Katie. Now, I'm not entirely sure why you would have a child with someone if you weren't happy with them to an extent, but what I do know is that those degenerate remarks we mentioned in the past, which Ava made, would also slightly be imposed onto her son. A Snapchat post which really riled up the internet in 2022 to 2023 would have Ava posting a picture of her son in heels, captioning the photo as "Tucker chose to slay this morning." Now, with Tucker being just about 2 years old at the time, he wouldn't really have the capabilities of understanding what's going on, and as such couldn't really voice his opinion on whether he wanted to slay or not. That, however, wouldn't be the only remark which would anger the internet involving Tucker and Ava, as there would be 2 instances following the heel incident in which Ava would be kissing their son on the lips, to which the internet wouldn't respond so fondly. Now, I do believe that posting your son wearing heels and kissing him on the lips is a little brainless considering how the internet will react. However, I don't think that there were bad intentions behind these posts. There are hundreds of posts, which Ava has on Twitter, simply showing their love towards Tucker, so taking a few posts about their son to twist the narrative seems unfair. I frankly do not believe that it is in my position to talk about somebody's underage son, especially considering the thumbnail and title of this video, with the context of stuff we were to talk about. And as such, I will respect the tweet made by Ava Kris Tyson, which would make it clear that they do not want more posts of Tucker out there. I posted this on my Snap and saw some pretty rude comments. Say anything you want about me, I don't care, but anything towards Tucker will be an immediate block. This would be also followed up by another tweet which would say, "I just don't want any more photos of Tucker out there than has to be." In this aspect, I do believe that the internet should follow suit as well, in the respect of talking about someone's son and their family. However, to answer the original question at hand as to what makes a person commit such actions as these, I believe Ava Kris Tyson would answer that best themselves. They would address these remarks in a Twitter thread in which they would talk about their past insensitive tweets. They mentioned how they would grow up in an environment which taught them racism and homophobia, talking about certain experiences which they would encounter with the environment they were presented in. An environment definitely has a big effect on a person's psyche, and it is totally possible that Ava Kris Tyson would simply be presented in an environment in which the expression of hatred towards others was encouraged. Perhaps they were presented in a friend group which only accepted and normalized this type of degenerate behavior, and with them deep down knowing that that wasn't the person they were, they would develop self-hatred for oneself, which would reflect on the jealousy they had for others. Or perhaps I'm totally wrong, and the environment they were presented in has nothing to do with the person they are. and they always had a side to them which remained degenerate in nature. This could be possible as within August of 2023, Ava Kris Tyson would be spotted in a picture which included Ella Hollywood and Finster. For those who aren't aware, Ella Hollywood is a known transgender porn star who would have allegations of pedophilia regarding them grooming children into porn addiction. But Finster is a transgender influencer who has an OnlyFans. There would be also further evidence which would support that they always had a degenerate side to them, when there would be strange interactions found between Ava Kris Tyson and an underage individual, which could be viewed as inappropriate. I won't name this individual in respect to them, however, the old interactions included Ava sending kissing emojis to the underage individual in question, supposedly sending their nudes to the underage individual, and even having an underage individual acknowledge that they had a hentai addiction issue. Ultimately, I'm not going to be covering those incidents, as I'm not fully confident in the circumstance presented within the two parties, with certain remarks within their interplay being marked as speculative, meaning that I could be completely wrong, and again, stuff could be completely taken out of context. Priapism32, who helped a great deal with the information presented within this video, will talk about that experience in his video.
Illegal, it's disgusting, it's something that you should never be talking about with a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and we're gonna get to that.
All in all, there are a lot of explanations as to why Ava Kris Tyson would tweet the degenerate tweets they did, and I would like to hear your guys' opinion on the matter. So please, once again, in the comments, tell me why you think Ava would make the tweets they made. Is it because they were presented in a wrong environment growing up? Or is it perhaps that they always had a degenerate side towards them? Regardless, I really do hope that Ava, within their respect, will try to stay away from figures such as Shadman in the future, and in general will look to lead a less degenerate life when it comes to what they put on the internet. I do wish nothing but the best for Ava Kris Tyson in that regard. The second and the last reason as to why I made this video is for the reason that I do believe it's important to look into the history and past of anyone who is heavily involved within the children's entertainment industry, with MrBeast at this point becoming the most subscribed YouTube channel on YouTube and the majority of MrBeast viewers being children. Important to consider the history of one of the main figures on that channel, with the entire MrBeast crew, including Ava Kris Tyson, being featured on the Nickelodeon Choice Awards in March of 2023, and the entire MrBeast brand being mainly targeted as being child-friendly. It does leave one to question whether the past of any of the MrBeast crew members matter.